Monday, January 29th. Let's get dinner together. Hey friends, I'm Amanda. This is the Happy Homestead. Also, from last night's dinner, remember we had roast chicken? My canner is right there. I had my chicken broth going all night. So what I did was take all of the remains. I took the carcass, right, the body, all the meat was parsed off, the bones, any liquid juices that were at the bottom of the Instant Pot, and I just kept it all there, put everything in. I do a splash of apple cider vinegar because the vinegar helps to extract more out of the bones, the minerals and the vitamins and the collagen, and filled my Instant Pot, kind of the fill line, with filtered water. Now, I usually add in half of an onion, carrot, celery, a bay leaf. I don't season it too much other than that because I have my chicken already seasoned with the Redmond real salt lemon pepper seasoning. Last night I did. So I don't add any more salt or pepper. I kind of leave that. That's normally what I do. Last night, all I did was the chicken, the vinegar, and the water. Because we're in the challenge, I didn't want to waste a carrot or celery or an onion for that matter to put in. So I just did it very basic. I put it on low pressure. So I do pressure cook it, but low pressure, 2-hour cook time. And I delayed the start. So I delay it to usually start around 2 a.m. while we're asleep. That way by 4 a.m. it's done. And then I keep it on the keep warm setting. And then when I'm ready to get to it, so it kind of waits on me, I strain it through my colander, like a fine mesh colander, into a big bowl. And then this morning I put it literally took me 10 minutes, y'all, 10 minutes. Because I remember I walked in the door from taking the kids to school at 9:33 in the morning. And by 9:41, I had the canner loaded with the heat on. And so all I did was strain it and then portion it out. And so in the canner that's still cooling is 4 pints and 1 quart. And then you pressure can it. And for when you have a mixture of pints and quarts, you're always going at that higher temperature, or excuse me, that higher processing time, which is 25 minutes for broth in quarts. So simple, so fast, so easy. So I did do that this morning. And I'll show you that as I take that out of the canner. I have the lid propped open right now just to help everything kind of equalize within temperature. So now we're gonna get started on tonight's dinner. One of my favorite meals that my mom would always make growing up was halupki. I think I'm saying that right, I hope. And she would painstakingly take the cabbage leaves, steam them, and then stuff them. She'd put the stuffing on and then roll them up, kind of like a burrito, with this ground beef, rice, onion, garlic, some herbs, and a little bit of tomato sauce mixture. Roll it up, place it line by line in her 9x13 pan, and put more sauce on it and bake it with, usually she had foil on top and baked it. It was so good. It was one of my favorite things. And so now that I have my own family, this is something that I enjoy making for my family, but I do it a little bit different. Hers is always going to be best, but I like to take a bit of a shortcut when I can. And forgive me all, I'm stuffy. I'm dealing with some congestion, but I feel fine, so just bear with me if my voice sounds stuffy. We are going to be making deconstructed cabbage casserole, or unstuffed cabbage casserole. So last August, during the Every Bit Counts challenge, which is where for the month of August, you are putting something up every day. What does that mean? Basically, you're dehydrating, maybe you're freeze drying, maybe you're canning, maybe you're freezing, right? You're just doing something to put food away for the winter every day of the month of August. And so one day in August, I made 4 quarts, see that USC? Unstuffed cabbage casserole. So in these quarts is ground beef, the tomato sauce, onions, I think peppers might be in here, garlic, some seasoning. And so what I can do is open 2 of these quarts, chop and saute this, add a little rice, mix it together, and I have a really quick, and nutritious dinner. And so that's what we're gonna do tonight. I already got my 9x13 pan here. I'm gonna start chopping the cabbage, and I've got a bigger pot. That's kind of my bigger stock pot there on the stove. I'm gonna put a little bit of probably some bacon fat. I don't wanna do olive oil, and olive oil, because it doesn't have a very high smoke point, and once it burns, it's kind of bad. Like, I don't necessarily mean taste bad. I mean, it's bad for your body. So be careful when you're using olive oil, because you don't want to use olive oil with a very high heat. So you could use avocado oil, lard, tallow. I'm going to use a little bit of bacon fat. We're going to saute this down and then mix everything up. Now, I wish I could say I grew this cabbage, but I did not. These were from my last Azure order. I think I got 4 of them. So I used one for our egg roll in a bowl last week. And then this one, so I've got 2 left in the fridge. My cabbage are not nearly this pretty. In fact, they're still so tiny. Hoping I get a cabbage harvest in our garden this year, or this spring. So I'm just taking the outer leaves off, taking out the core. And then I'm just gonna start chopping. Got my pan over so I can just throw everything in. Now, if you want to make this, but you don't have the pre-made pans or jars like I do, no problem. This is so simple. Basically, while you're sauteing your chopped cabbage, you'll be browning 1 pound of ground beef. And then you'll just wanna season that, right, with some salt, pepper, and one of the key ingredients in this dish, I don't know if it's Polish or Hungarian, but one of the key ingredients is smoked paprika. I no longer buy regular paprika. My mom and I were just talking about this too. Smoked paprika is where it's at, y'all. Just like the onion granules. By the way, I love that so many of you are team granule. I loved those comments on YouTube. They were funny. So just like that, smoked paprika, you need to just chuck the regular paprika or use it first and then buy the smoked. It's so good. But that's one of the key spices in this dish that kind of give it, you know, just a little bit different of a flavor. So you'll cook your cabbage, you'll cook your ground beef. You're also gonna wanna cook rice, a little bit of brown rice, maybe 1 cup of rice, uncooked, to give you about 2 cups of cooked. And then you're just gonna mix everything together. You can saute half of an onion, you can add a couple of cloves of garlic that are sauteed. You mix it all together with some tomato sauce, maybe like 1 can of sauce, not marinara, just like tomato sauce. Making sure everything is seasoned appropriately. Throw it in your casserole pan, and you can top it with mozzarella cheese if you like, or just cook it like that. And remember, everything is actually cooked. You're just heating it through. Okay, our cabbage is all chopped. I'm gonna get that on to the burner. I already added a little bit of that bacon fat into the bottom of the pan, so we'll use some tongs as that starts to heat up and really just start to wilt the cabbage. I've got my 2 quarts. I also have some leftover rice. My family would be appalled if they ever watched these videos and knew what I'm doing, but this is the leftover rice and a little bit of the leftover egg roll in a bowl. My husband took all the meat and the veggies and the cabbage for lunch one day, but there's rice left over in here. I'm gonna throw that in because I am not wasting anything, and I'm certainly not gonna go cook more rice when we have about 1.5 cups worth of perfectly good right here. I also have some leftover sauce. Now this is kind of a marinara. This is from the meatballs last week. So I am gonna use what I need from that. And remember, you already have sauce, but I may need a little bit more. So I'll take what I need from that. I'm gonna put the lid on just to help that wilt down a little faster. All right, we're gonna start getting these jars opened. It's just a lovely sound, isn't it? Oh yeah, so I can see tomatoes, onions, garlic. Oh, that looks good. It's these kinds of moments that just make all of that work so worthwhile. The fact that I can... Oh my gosh. That I can just kind of dump and go and put this meal together so fast and so nutritiously. Priceless in my opinion. All right, so I've got my 2 quarts in. We're gonna add the leftover rice mixture. Now, if I weren't using the leftover rice, you know, or weren't making a dish that would use it, the other thing I had thought about doing with this, and I tried it this past weekend with my children, is like, hey, y'all want some fried rice for lunch? Because I could take that leftover rice, kind of throw it in the cast iron skillet on low heat, and maybe even scramble an egg or 2 with it, and make it fried rice. Nobody bit. Nobody bit on that offer. So in our casserole it goes. All right, everything is mixed up. I may not even need to add any of this tomato sauce. I'm not sure yet. We'll see once we add our cabbage in. I had set aside some spices here on the counter, like the smoked paprika, some oregano, thyme, garlic powder, the onion granules. I don't remember how I seasoned my jars when I did this, so I'm gonna add just a tad bit of each. All right, our cabbage is done. I like it with a little bit of like the brownish charred portions. You can kind of see the bottom of the pan has some of those brown spots. So what I do is just like scrape it off. Help get that flavor into my cabbage, and it kind of doubles as cleaning the pot a bit. All right, I think that looks perfect. It's got a little bit of brown, a little bit of char. We're gonna throw it into our bowl. Once you're happy with how it is mixed together, you can get it into your pan, your casserole dish. I am going to actually add just a little bit of sauce. And this is a hearty meal. You could even skip the rice if you wanted to make it more low carb. Now I said normally what I would do in the past is top this with mozzarella cheese, but my family is on a anti-cheese kick right now. Did you witness the sarcasm and frustration with that? Like, why are they anti-cheese? Come on now. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what's going on. So I'm not going to be putting any mozzarella cheese on this. I am going to put some foil on it. And because this is pretty hot, but we're not actually eating dinner for a little while, I'm going to put the foil on and I'm just going to put it in the oven. It's perfectly fine going to be in there for a couple hours. When I'm ready to cook it, I'll cook it at either 350 or 375. Depending on how long I have to cook it, right? If I've got more than 30 minutes, I'll go to 350 because it'll probably take between 30 to 45-ish minutes just to heat everything through. If I'm low on time, I'll go to 375 and it should be done around the 30-minute mark, maybe a little less. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Cheers.